Hey there, Suzi here. Before we get into today's episode, I want to share this special message with you. Now, my co-host Michelle and I love masterminds. Not only do we belong to masterminds, but we also host a mastermind. We started it almost 8 years ago, and it is the premier mastermind for women business owners who want to grow their business with a specific focus on marketing. Now, this group is usually completely booked out, and very occasionally we open the doors and invite a handful of women in. So if you're growing your business, but you're struggling with feeling overwhelmed, or like you constantly have a split focus when it comes to your marketing, this could be exactly what you're looking for. We have an amazing time together, and the women in the group are extraordinary. They're great cheerleaders, supporters, advisors, and colleagues for you. And they're also seeing extraordinary results. We see people cracking the $1 million, $2 million, $3 million mark, launching new e-commerce sites that go from $0 to $10,000 a month in sales. They're doubling their conversion rates, they're growing memberships, they're selling courses, they're growing their personal brands, and they're getting all kinds of media exposure and speaking opportunities and so much more. You can learn more about the mastermind and join the waitlist over at herbusinessmastermind.com. We're going to open the doors soon, so you definitely want to be on the list to get an invitation. So head on over to herbusinessmastermind.com. Hi, you're listening to the Content Sells Podcast, the show all about how to create content to attract, convert, and keep your ideal clients. Welcome to episode 206. I'm Suzi Dafnis, and here with me is my co-host, Michelle Falzon. Hey, Michelle, how are you?
Hey, Suzi, I am great. I am really ready to dive in because today is what we call a juicy one.
It sure is. Today we are talking about the 16 essential elements of a successful sales page. And a sales page is a page where you are, selling something. And while that may seem obvious, there's definitely a science and an art to creating a high converting sales page.
Yes, there are definitely good sales pages and terrible sales pages and a lot in between. And really the sales page, having a good sales page that puts forward your offer in the best possible way is one of what we like to think of as a foundation move, something that almost every business needs. And it isn't just for people that have a classic sales page like an online marketing funnel, like let's say you are a course creator or you have a membership or you're selling something like a mastermind that you're putting people through an online funnel and they arrive at a sales page where they need to make the decision, are they going to move forward with you? Of course, we're talking about that page and all the elements of that page, but this is also something that's going to be beneficial for you, even if you don't have that sort of quintessential or traditional sales page in the way you market your business. So, for example, if you do proposals or you have one-on-one sales conversations, the same elements that we're going to be talking about today that go on a sales page will apply to you. So we want you to think about, as you're listening to this, if you go, well, I don't have a sales page, this episode's not for me, stop right there, because there's going to be a lot here that's going to help you as well and be able to apply to your situation. And today it's all about how to optimize for conversion. Remember, we're talking about high converting sales pages. How to optimize for conversion at the point of sale. And the point of sale could be that someone buys from you right then and there, like they're going to click a button, go through to your order form, put in their credit card details, and boom, they've bought from you. Or the sales page could be selling an application where somebody actually applies for a higher ticket item that you might be selling, like a retreat or a mastermind. And this is something that Suzi and I do for the Marketing Success Mastermind or for the Reach Retreat. Or it could be that your sales offer is temporarily closed or unavailable. And so your sales page's job then is getting people to join a wait list so that you can then remarket to them later. So we're calling it sales pages, but the essence of what we're looking for is where is that point of sale for you and how do you optimize that point of sale for maximum conversion? So you'll see that we're going to focus, as I said, on the sales page as this mechanism, but this is where you may need to join some dots. So if you're like, okay, I'm not driving people to an online sales page. My sales happen in a one-to-one conversation, or my sales happen in a request for a proposal, or where my tradesperson goes out on site and inspects the site and gives a quote, then you might want to join the dots because we acknowledge there are all sorts of points of sale. So we're going to ask you to just buy into the idea that if you don't have a traditional sales page, you're going to just connect the dots as we start talking about sales pages and how you might map that back to whatever your point of conversion is. So be on the lookout for how you can use these elements in any way that you convert a sale. So if you're doing one-on-one sales where you submit a proposal for a high-value product, and maybe you've got a really high-touch sales process for you, then you might take some of this and say, oh, you know what, I'm not including a guarantee, or I'm not including this or that element that Suzi and Michelle are talking about. I'm going to build that into my proposal.
And we're talking about a checklist of 16 items that you need to have on your sales page. And so this is a juicy episode. Have your pen poised, be ready to jot this down, but know that we're also going to give you a copy of the checklist a little later on. But we're going to dive into each area in a lot more depth right here on this episode. And Michelle and I were talking, and we could do an episode on each one of these 16 essential elements. And each one of those episodes could be a one-day workshop because there is a lot behind this idea of a sales page. But for now, we're going to give you a high-level overview of everything you need to include in your sales page so that you can make sure that you're not leaving out some of the most vital ingredients. And they are vital. Just like when you're making a cake, if you leave out some of the essential ingredients, eggs or flour, it's going to fall short of your expectations. It's not going to work. The same with sales pages. And the checklist is so valuable because if you're starting out, if you're just doing your first few sales pages, it's a great step-by-step guide of what to include and what not to include, just by following along. And even if you've done a lot of sales pages, which Michelle and I have done, this is something that you want to still pay attention to because you might know all these elements, but it doesn't stop us accidentally leaving something out. And that can happen, and it's happened with us. We've worked on a sales page and we're like admiring it, and then we realise, oh, we left the guarantee off, or we haven't done enough objection handling, or whatever the element might be. And as I said, we're going to give you all those elements today. And having this checklist is super valuable no matter where you are in your level of marketing expertise. So what we're sharing here is the things that you need to have thought about before you go about building your sales page, right? So this is the work that you're doing before you start designing. And you want to do this thinking and get these pieces in place so then you can assemble them into an awesome high converting sales page. Now, there's a whole other podcast that we could do just on the design of your sales page and tips and strategies for taking these elements and making them look good. So watch out for a future episode about that. We're going to not dive into that today. Today is about knowing what all the pieces are that you need to include in your sales page. So here we go. Number one is something we're calling your hook. Here's what we mean. What is your big idea to get attention so that people will even start to read your sales page? You need to get their attention right at the outset. So what is that hook? And we have some episodes to help you with this idea of the hook if you want to dig in further, including episode 126, which is called Hooks, Why You Need Them in Your Content and How to Create a Good One, and 179, where we spoke about why your marketing needs to be more boofy. Now, the main point here is that you need a big idea, something that's going to get your ideal client's attention. And it needs to be boofy. It needs to have some punch. It can't be blah, 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 vanilla flavored. You're going to need to have that hook as a reason for people to keep reading.
Absolutely. So let's say, for example, you help women business owners with your sales training. And Suzi, I know you've got people inside the Her Business Network that do that. So what's going to be a compelling idea that you can lead with that is going to get people's attention? And I see, and Suzi, I know you do too many people waste this opportunity and they come up with no hook. There's the no hook.
The no hook.
So, they put their logo and their name at the top of their sales page and they kind of approach it very kind of head on, just matter of fact, and appeal to people's logic. And there's nothing interesting or there's no compelling angle to what they're saying. And they really fail then to weave any kind of hook through the story they're telling on their sales page. And your sales page, like all marketing, really has so much to do with the story you're telling. So in the case of the business that provides sales training for women business owners, let's just treat that as our example. Maybe as you're thinking about the hook, this first step in the checklist, maybe you know that a big thing your audience is worried about is feeling pushy. And we know that from a lot of the research that we've done in studying the market language for the Her Business community. There's this real sense of, oh, look, I don't want to come across as overly pushy. I don't want to sort of come across as overly needy. And so you might think, I know this is a big thing for my audience, so I'm going to think about a hook that is something around sales training that won't have you feeling pushy. In fact, maybe your hook is about sales training you can actually feel good about. And so now you're creating this kind of contrarian idea. People are like, what? Sales I could feel good about, but I wouldn't feel pushy. Okay, now you've got my attention.
I love that example because it's they're like, what? They're sitting up, they're paying attention. Another thing you might lead with is a strong promise that's going to be really compelling. So your hook, again with this same example, could be that people will learn how to get 5 high-value clients in less than 30 days. And that's the case with our Get New Clients coaching week. Our hook for that week is about how to get at least 1 new client that week. It's very hooky.
Right. Now, you could have come out with the no hook and just gone, come to our Get New Clients week, which is not as interesting as, hey, come to my Get New Clients week, and in 1 week, you'll get at least 1 client. Do you want to have your next or your first client in the next 7 days? It suddenly gives you so much more to talk about and to weave through the story of your sales page, of the message and the narrative that you're sharing. And remember, the hook is the idea that you will likely focus on in your headline, but also you want to use this as a through line through your sales copy on the page, something you keep coming back to again and again, an idea that you maybe develop in different ways as you use the different elements that we're going to share with you all throughout your page.
Yes, and you want to start right there. What is the hook that I'm going to lead with? What is the big idea I'm going to drive home on my sales page? And ideally, this idea is part of the problem-solution dance that you've been doing in your marketing leading up to someone arriving on your sales page in the first place. So what I mean is, what's been the message just before that will have this hook make sense and really capitalize on the story you've been telling so far in your marketing? Right, so we're making the assumption that you've been leading people to this moment where they come to your sales page. And if you're wondering what a problem-solution dance is, it's like, what is that? Then we explain this in what is one of our most popular episodes of the show, episode number 66, Turning Content into Sales with the Problem-Solution Dance.
That is definitely one worth checking out because while we're talking about the storyline of your sales page, your whole marketing funnel, the process, the sequence that you take people on from, the Facebook ad or the email you send them or all the pages and steps that they go through, that is also a story. It's a storyline that you want to have thought about. So definitely check out that episode number 66. Okay, so like we said, this is a checklist. We're going to give you all 16 of the items, and just knowing what those 16 things are is incredibly valuable to make sure, have I got this in my sales page? And then we're going to give you episodes where you can dig deeper to learn more. So let's go on to our second point in our checklist, which are the essential elements of a high converting sales page. And the second thing, as you're sitting down, if you go, right, I'm going to write a new sales page, I'm going to revamp my existing sales page, what we're suggesting is you bring out this checklist and you do this work first. So you've thought about your hook. The second thing you want to think about, just as you're beginning to crack open, what the heck am I going to put on my sales page, is your objections. What are the top objections people have to buying your thing? What are the reasons that people give you time and time again for saying no to you? And you want to understand these objections before you start crafting your sales page, before you start writing things and coming up with all the sections of your sales page and exactly the wording of every single piece. Because the objections need to be dealt with all throughout your sales page in all kinds of ways. And ideally, you want to come up with at least 5 of these. But I'll let you in a little secret. Some of my buddies, some of my friends who are incredible marketers, they will come up with as much as 35, 40 objections that they are really consciously addressing in their sales messaging. So come up with at least 5, the really compelling, most powerful reasons people give you for saying no. So it could be, again, well, let's continue our sales training example. We know that they don't want to feel pushy, right? And that is something that we've addressed in the hook. But you'll want to find other ways to address this objection in your sales page. It could be that they aren't sure you're the person to teach them. So you'll need to provide evidence of your authority on your sales page. Or maybe they think that sales is just some natural magical talent that some people are born with and other people aren't born with. And so they don't have that magical gift and there's no point learning because it's not going to work for them, like water off a duck's back. So you're going to need to put things into the sales page that help people to know this is a learnable skill. That might be by sharing customer stories where somebody just felt they didn't have the natural talent and they learned the skill. Or it might be your own personal story. Or it might be that you share a little model that takes people through the exact way they can learn it, even if it's felt like a foreign language to them in the past. So this is just getting down the objections that you can use as springboards later for the various things you'll include on your sales page. It could be when somebody's thinking about buying your sales training that they're saying no to your sales training because they say, well, it can't work for my market. You know, my market's a particular special snowflake market and it's hard to make sales in and it's different or special than the process you've got. And so you can see how that's going to get you thinking about things you can do on your sales page where you're actually addressing that objection, where you're showing the diversity of markets that it's worked for. So again, that's going to be something you want to bear in mind as you're thinking about your sales page content. But it starts here with the second step, which is really coming up with what those objections are. And whatever those objections are, you need to know them and face them head on in your sales page. You know, it's that whole thing. If I don't look at them, maybe they'll go away. If I don't mention them, maybe they'll just disappear. And that is just not true. You want to be very proactive with addressing objections in your sales page. And as you listen now to the rest of the checklist steps, you'll start to see places that you can do that.
I love this. And they're there. They're thinking them anyway. So how do you put them up front and centre? And I love, Michelle, that you suggested just start with 5. Right? We may not be at the point where we can come up with 35 objections because maybe we haven't done this process enough, we haven't run this program or done this, whatever it is that we're selling enough times. But just choose 5 things that might be stopping people from buying from you. So that's essential element number 2, objections. Essential element number 3 is benefits. So what are the big benefits of your product or service to your ideal customer? And here you definitely don't want to get caught up in talking about the features of your product. We mean benefits. What are the outcomes that your product or service delivers to your buyer? And we cover this idea of benefits versus features quite in depth in our recent episode 202, The Features Trap, Why You Need to Focus on Benefits versus features to make more sales. So definitely look up that episode. One great tip here when thinking about what your benefits are is to look at your objections, which we just mentioned, and transform them into benefits. For example, in this sales training example that we're using, one of the big objections is that this can't work for me. So perhaps one of the benefits can be that this process works for any type of small business, whether you're an experienced salesperson or not. So you want to make a list of all the benefits that you can think of. Think especially about those benefits that you know about from talking with your customers and the customers that have already told you what they value most.
Yeah, and I hope you're starting to get the hang of the way we're approaching this in this episode. This is the thinking that you need to do, and then you will be in such a good place to then craft your sales page. I just see too many times, Suzi, people just jumping straight into, putting a few things on a page, grabbing some sort of, template or...
Yeah, or where does the button go, or what colour should the button be? And that is not the deep thinking we're talking about here.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about the 4th item in the checklist. And so that is the headline. And before we even talk about what makes a good headline, can we just please ask that you have one?
Yes, please.
They're kind of handy. It's the thing people read first. And I'm amazed, a lot of time because I get in different capacities and for different reasons, I get to see a lot of people's sales pages. And a lot of them have no headline. And it is such a loss. That is some of your most valuable real estate right there at the top of your page. And your headline is the thing that's going to attract someone's attention. It's going to get them to consider reading on. Because, we all look at a page, and if we're not interested by the headline, we're back on out of there. The headline is that very first thing that you want to grab people's attention with. So what might be your headline for your sales page? Obviously, you want to speak to your hook in your headline. You don't want to just use that top section for your logo or for, some sort of statement that's really not moving the needle forward for you. So let's go back to the sales training example. Your headline could be something like this. Attention, women business owners, how to find, win, and keep your perfect customers without feeling pushy or spending a fortune, even if you're just starting out. So you can see we've said something really interesting there. We've included a pre-heading that calls out who we're talking to, attention, women business owners, and we're touching on our hook idea, that idea that you can blitz it with sales without being pushy. So it's this idea of being bolder, of really working on and spending a good deal of time on a compelling headline, because very often if there is a headline there, my big complaint is that they're too timid or they're too boring or they're marketing blah, blah, that uses a whole like a word salad, and it's not really conveying something that makes me think, oh, I've got to read this.
Yeah. And it's one of those things that I think people really underestimate the power of the headline. Like you said, it's the first thing people see. It and how hooky it is going to determine whether people continue to read or whether they just exit off of that page right away. So this is a part of the page that you want to put some effort into. You want to start to craft incredible headlines. I mean, helping people with their headlines is one of the things we do all the time inside of the Mastermind program, because it really, 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 really matters. And so you do want to pay attention to this. That was 16 of the 16 essential elements. That was number 4, the headline. Number 5 is also really important, and that is your call to action. That is telling people exactly what you want them to do next. So if you want them to click the button to join, have wording that says that. Get crystal clear on that next step. So often I see people making it hard for customers to buy because we don't have a clear call to action. It's easy to really miss this, to have wishy-washy words, to not have really clear, do this next. So if you want them to apply for your mastermind, is it to join a wait list? Is it to buy the special deal now before it expires? Is it to fill those spots that you have before they all disappear? Make a note of what your call to action is. In this sales training example that we've been using, it could be join Australia's leading sales coaching program for women business owners today, and then you have a button that says join now, right? They're going to click that button. And you always want to put your call to action, those couple of sentences that I used, right by where you have the button. So the call to action isn't just the button. It's that bit of copy that precedes it that is very directive. It actually tells people what to do. And in this instance, we were saying, join Australia's leading sales coaching program for women business owners today. And then the button is sitting right there saying join now.
Yeah, that's a real bugbear of mine, Suzi. I see sales pages with the Join Now button. And, on a longer sales page, you might have that Join Now button several times.
Yes.
And the button's just hanging out there in the breeze by itself. And you really want to have that statement. It's not just the button, like you said. It is that call to action. I mean, even the phrase call to action, you're calling them to take an action. It's a very specific directive statement. Join Australia's leading sales coaching program for women business owners today. And so this exercise about getting clear on your call to action is so important, because I think many people create a sales page and they've got multiple calls to action. You just want one. And they're not super clear on exactly what it is they want people to do. You want to be laser focused on one thing you want people to do next. So let's go on to number 6 in the checklist, which is video. Now, this is an optional step. Will you have a sales video? And you can, or you might choose not to. Now, if you do choose to have a sales video on your sales page, you can very often use elements of your sales page copy, all the things that are happening on your sales page, in your video script, or vice versa. You may start with your video script and then extract pieces of that put them into the various sections on your page following the elements that we're talking about here. So when I say that, I often see people think that it has to be all new content. Like I've got to write an entirely different set of things in the video to what I'm saying on the page. And I know we've said this before on the show, but repetition really is your friend. Not everybody's going to read your sales page. Not everybody's going to watch your video. Even if they do read all of your sales page and watch all of your video, they're not going to remember all the things you said in both. And so hearing things over and over is actually a really important part of your sales process. So just as an aside, because we're not going to talk about design right now, this is really just the checklist of things to think about before you really create your sales page. But things like headings and subheadings and making your page like with bullet points, you want to do that to make your page really skimmable, because not everybody is going to read everything. So back to video. If you're thinking of having a video, there is a fantastic framework for your sales video from one of our earlier episodes. It was quite early in the piece with James Wedmore, who's a fantastic marketer. And actually, in our recent 200th episode, which we celebrated as a live show, you might have listened to it, where we had some of our listeners on sharing their favorite episodes. This one got a bit of a shout out, and it's episode 27. Videos That Sell with James Wedmore. And James kindly shares an 8-part framework with bonus download for your sales page video. He's actually got a little download there you can grab. It's very handy. So sales pages are great with and without a video. And if it's a roadblock, I would say just start without a sales video. You can always add it in later. And just as a little bonus tip, something that I've done very successfully is add my webinar replay to the top of the sales page. So if you are doing a webinar and you're making your offer on the webinar and then you're inviting people to go to the sales page, then you can pop your webinar there as the replay as the video at the top of your sales page. That works a treat.
I love that idea, and that's a tip that you gave us, and we've done that a couple of times as well. And I was thinking about, James's episode number 27, and like you said, it's come up many times as a favourite. And when I think, Michelle, that it was 189 episodes ago, it kind of freaks me out a little bit. Oh, very funny. All right, so essential element number 7 is scarcity. This is a fundamental principle. It's one of Dr. Robert Cialdini, who we've mentioned on the show many, many times. It's one of his influence principles. And here's why this is important. What reason are you giving people to buy right now? So on your sales page, you definitely want to think in advance of what is it that is going to make people take action today. What is going to go away? So either the whole offer is going to go away on a certain date and time in the future, or a special bonus or incentive, like a special price, or maybe people are getting a 2-for-1 or extra benefit. Something has to go away. Like, for instance, if you're doing an end of summer sale or a bonus training or a one-on-one session that they can only get if they buy before a certain time, that is going to encourage people to act now. Or maybe you only have 10 places and where they're gone, so people need to act now. So you might have a sales page for something that isn't like, it's not a sale happening right now. It's a sales page that you have all the time because you've got the type of product or service where people apply every time. You still want to think about, how can I instill some scarcity here? Is there a countdown timer? Is there a very clear 10 spaces left, for the next quarter? You might only have 10 more clients that you can fit in this year, this month, this quarter. Because without the scarcity, people are like, well, I can do that another time. They're less likely to buy. They're going to put off buying. So you need to think about what your reason to buy now will be and get that noted down before you start building the sales page. And of course, you need to make that super clear when you get to creating your sales page, using timers and headlines where that is relevant, and pointing this out in several pages on the page that, remember, this is going away or this is for a limited time only. And really, here's a little tip. No matter what you're doing, it's always for a limited time only. It's
That's
not going to
right.
be there in perpetuity, right?
That's right. Who knows when you can offer that again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, what you're saying. And we're really, all these points are so juicy. And if you're listening to any of these and going, you know what, I'm not doing that, this could be a reason why you're not getting the results you want to be getting on your sales page. You really do want to include every single item on this checklist in your sales page. So let's move on to number 8 on the checklist, which is another massively important and juicy one: proof. So what social and authority proof can you use to encourage people to buy from you, to have them feel confident and ready to move forward? Because we all approach any purchase with a degree of fear. Now, whether it's the cornflakes that we buy, there's very little fear when we buy cornflakes, but when it's more expensive, although I don't buy cornflakes, but maybe I would be afraid if I had to buy cornflakes. But when we are spending things that require a little bit more money or a little bit more risk-taking behavior, like maybe, I've got to expand who I am to expand my sales skills, or when those decisions get a little more complex, we do experience a degree of fear and trepidation. Will I embarrass myself? Will I get ripped off? Will I be the only person doing this? Will this work for me? There are so many things that are going through our minds, and this is when we've already been doing all that thinking about your objections, right? And really understanding what is going through the mind of your customer when they're sitting there on your sales page, really weighing up, will they move forward with you or not? And so social and authority proof is things like testimonials. It's things like companies that you've worked for, or media that you've been part of, or accreditations and things that you might have. And all of these things are proof that, hey, I've helped other people. Other people have done this thing that I want to show you how to do and had the results that you want to get. Or I've been certified by the Naturopathy Association and therefore trust my naturopathic advice, or whatever it might be. So people need to know that they can trust you before they will buy from you. They need to know that you can help them get the outcome that you say you can get for them. Now, you can tell them as much as you like, but they need to believe that it's possible. And the best way to do that is not to say it, but to show it through various proof elements. So think about specific people that you've helped, client stories and things like that. Think about awards you might have received. Think about qualifications that you might have. And also different ways to communicate and visualize that proof. So it might be photos of your customers. It might be written stories. You might do some videos with your customers. It might be screenshots of, if you're teaching people how to do sales, it might be screenshots from your actual bank account where you're showing, in one day you did $100,000 in sales. It might be logos of media where you've been featured. It could be pictures of you at an awards night holding up this incredible award. So think about here in this pre-work you're doing before you create your sales page, what do I got? What can I put here that boosts people's trust in me? Include in this testimonials and also your story. So the about info about you that will really boost your authority and your credibility. Now, like we said, we can't go into, there's an episode on every single one of these topics and more. But we actually have already done a social proof episode. So we're going to tune you into that. It's episode 168, how to use social proof to increase sales. And we go into a lot of depth in that episode. I really recommend it. If you're going through this checklist now and you're going, proof, I'm not doing so good on that one, then definitely dive into episode 168. Now, if you're thinking, guys, I know I need social proof, but I just don't have a lot of it right now, our advice is just to use what you can and then make it a focus to go out and get some because you need it and you want it and it is going to increase your conversions. So even if you've only got one customer, ask that customer for a testimonial. Get photos taken of you at the awards night that you're going to go to soon because you're going to enter an award because you realize you need to get a bit more authority proof. Or if you get featured on a podcast, get that logo on your site. Just use absolutely everything you can. If you've got a photo of your diploma, use that. Like there is stuff that you already have that if you think about it, you can really start to pull in. And that's all what you want to be thinking about here as you make your notes about your proof elements. But just start where you are. The other thing I want to say about this, Suzi, is sometimes people get really hung up. Like they'll say, but I've never run this program before. Like let's say the sales trainer example. They'll say, well, I've never run this XYZ 3-month sales mini coaching program before. And I'll be like, but have you trained people in sales before? And they're like, yeah, I've got 15 years of sales training. I'm like, well, anybody that you've taught how to increase their sales is an okay person to include here as social proof. Now, you wouldn't say they did my XYZ program because that's not true, but you might have taught them the same, 5-star sales process that you're going to share on the XYZ program. So you could say, hey, these are people that I've shared my 5-star sales process with, and here's their success stories. Or if it's not that specific, you can just say, here's the people that I have helped to increase their sales. So it could be a past product. It could just be past experience that you have. Even if you've been in a corporate role before and now you're moving into your own business, what happened in that corporate role that you can use as authority? We've seen situations where you can turn that to your advantage. It's like, okay, I'm taking all that I learned in a big business managing people, and I'm now showing you what the big guns do, and helping you map it to small business so you can have, the success of a big business inside your small business by growing your team. So there's always an angle. There's always a way to bring that proof in.
I love that. And it's such an important element. And if you find yourself like backing away at all because you might think that it's bragging, then that is exact reason to lean into this, because social proof, authority proof, it convinces people to buy. It's like the white lab coat that you put around yourself and your business that has people see you as an authority. And there are things, whether you led teams in corporate, as what Michelle was saying, or you've had the knack for putting deals over the line, whatever it is that you have done, you wouldn't be coming into your business with no authority on something. You are an expert at something. So what are the bits of evidence that you can pull together to do that? And as Michelle said, check out episode 168, How to Use Social Proof to Increase Sales, for some more ideas. So we are halfway there, folks. We told you that we have 16 essential elements of a high converting sales page, and we have covered 8. The hook, objections, benefits, the all-important headline, the call to action, using video, scarcity, and proof. So, number 9 is liking and likability. What do I mean? Why and how are people going to like you? How are they going to have an affinity to you? How are they going to see you as someone they want to work with? So think about imagery, stories, language, a vibe that helps people like you and feel rapport to you. So maybe what's going to have people like you is where you've been in the past, your personal story. So telling the kind of story that makes you relatable, I'm like you. Oh, look, she's just like me, is also inspirational because you've triumphed in an area that your clients are trying to succeed in. And in the sales training example, maybe you used to be terrible at sales and then you went on to sell more of a particular item than anyone else in your industry. So a mix of showing your authority but also getting on the same side of the table as them rather than sitting opposite them, if you can imagine that picture, and showing them that you can help them get where they want to go, that is creating likability. So maybe it makes sense to show pictures of you and your family if you know your audience has strong family values, or to speak about your faith if that's something that's really important to your ideal client. Maybe you have a really fun personality and so you're attracting people who also have a sense of fun and adventure. Then make sure that shines through in your language and your imagery. So what are the things that you can make a note of now that you can include in your sales page and boost your likability? And I want you to really get confident here. This isn't about having all the charisma in the world or being someone who's was popular in school. This is about people relating to you. We like to do business with people we like. And so what is going to make you more likable? And I know for me, one of the things that I really didn't like doing was sharing a lot about my personal stories. But what I find more and more as time passes is that I can teach people how to do pretty much anything required to grow a small business. But often the place where they'll connect is where I'm most relatable. When I can go back to that time where I'd hired a receptionist for the first time and it didn't work out. Or where that marketing campaign really flopped, or where that I didn't have a system and so something came crashing down. And so really, not that you have to sort of, just report your failures, but just find those connection points. That's how people are going to like you.
Made so many great points there, Suzi. And I think we sometimes think people will only like us if we're bulletproof and amazing and awesome. And sometimes that actually alienates people because we're sort of so perfect or so fake in some ways that people pick up on that. And I think, what you're sharing there is just be authentic and know that you've got all those authority elements that we talked about over in proof, because it's, you want that as well. But being likable is as equally important because, like you said, people do business with people they like. And so I love everything you're saying there. And this is something you can overlook when you get into a sales page if you haven't done this pre-work first, if you haven't used this checklist. So let's look at number 10, which is inclusions. What does that mean? Well, basically it is, what do people get when they buy your thing? Now, this is an important piece and you want to have thought this through before you go into creating your sales page. Because while you want to lead with the benefits, and we've already mentioned those earlier, and they take that sort of place in the process, you really kind of want to work through this checklist chronologically like this. You do need to include the features of what people will get as well. So if you're selling an online course, how many modules are there? Do they get live Q&A sessions? Or if you're selling a 12-month consulting package, does that include in-person meetings or maybe a follow-up review session after 12 months? Does it include research? Does it include handbooks? What is actually happening inside that consulting package? And your inclusions are one of the key parts of your offer. Now, your offer is the entirety of the thing that you're selling on your sales page. And that includes things like your price, your inclusions, what have you called it? All of that is what we group into this concept of your offer. And people don't buy your thing, your product, they buy your offer, the way you've sort of packaged the product. So if you haven't already, you will definitely want to check out one of our all-time most popular episodes, which is all about how to craft that offer, because the sales page is really selling that offer. And so you want to check out episode number 23, how to craft an offer that sells. So that's episode 23, how to craft an offer that sells. It is one of our most listened to episodes. We go through 7 elements of an offer, and you'll see a little bit of crossover with this sales page, but the elements there are really the things you need in your offer, and what we're covering here are the things you want to think about before you start creating your sales page. The main thing to note is that your inclusions, which is point 10 in the checklist that we're going through right now, your inclusions, what people are going to get, is not just a shopping list of stuff. You want to name your inclusions. So if you do give them live Q&A sessions, maybe you call them, Fabulous Friday Q&As, or Get Your Answers Q&As, or bonus live Q&A. But make sure you give it a name. Make sure you give it a really compelling value. Make sure that you explain the benefits of that particular feature. And they're all really important pieces in thinking about your inclusions. So as you go and start jotting down, what are my inclusions? You might have already done the work on your offer, which means you can just bring that right over. Or you realize, hey, I need to do more work on my offer.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Like you said, it's not a laundry list. You said shopping list, actually. It's not a shopping list of stuff. Each one of these elements, each one of the things that's included, they're a reason for people to buy. So you want to think about the naming and how you're crafting that offer. And I love episode 23. It's one of my most referenced episodes that I'm sending people back to for the point that you made, that people don't buy your product or service, they buy your offer. Number 11 of our essential elements is bonuses. Now, this might be an area that might be new to you, so really listen in to this one. What are the extra things that people get as a bonus for buying from you? And if right now you're not using bonuses, you might want to consider this, because I know my own buyer behavior. I see people doing this all the time. If there's an extra little incentive, it makes it easier to buy. So in most cases, if you are putting together an offer, our recommendation is that you aim to have at least 3 bonuses, plus an optional fast action bonus or another bonus, like a last chance bonus if, for instance, you have a limited time offer. But at the very least, have something as a bonus. Now, bonuses give people more reason to buy now and can often also be used to help overcome objections, and I'll show you what I mean. So, for example, in the sales training example that we've been using today, people might feel really stuck about what to say and they don't like writing sales scripts. So one of your bonuses could be your sales scripts done for you bonus. Or people might feel like they don't want a cookie cutter sales process. They want something tailored more to them. So one of your bonuses could be a special diagnostic, a sales preference diagnostic that helps them identify their natural sales style, say that quickly, and their preferences so that they can play to those strengths in every situation and naturally become a more effective salesperson. Now, bonuses are powerful. I heard someone say a few weeks ago, but I feel like it's going to sound salesy. The question is, do you want to make sales or not? If you're not using bonuses, our encouragement is to start to include bonuses. And they don't have to be things that take away from your bottom line. They can be, well, we've got a ton of ideas. And we go into bonuses in the episode that Michelle mentioned, how to craft an offer that sells. I think we might have another episode on bonuses as well. Let me think.
It's highly possible that we do.
In which case, we'll put it in the show notes. Because it is such an important topic. But it's definitely in episode 23, How to Craft an Offer That Sells.
Yeah, and dig into that. And obviously, if there's extra on bonus, we'll put it in the show notes. And the only other thing I would say as you're thinking about this is you might borrow something from the inclusions list you just made in the step before this and pull it out of the main program and position it as a bonus. So there might be something that, like those Q&A calls, for example, that, are just sort of a bit lost or buried or, not really seen as valuable when they're in the big list of things. But if you pull them out and feature them as a bonus, that can be a really compelling way to package your offer, because remember, this is a packaging exercise. So as you're thinking about your bonuses, think about that list you just made of your inclusions and think, what could I pull out of there and put here as a bonus? And the other, and Suzi's so efficient. She's just told me the other episode is episode 134, how to use bonuses to get more sales, even from your fence sitters. So check that one out. Episode 23, how to craft an offer that sells, and episode 134, how to use bonuses to get more sales, even from your fence sitters. Now we're moving right along and we want to go to number 12 on the checklist of essential elements of a high converting sales page. And that is something that we refer to as your offer block. Now, what the heck is an offer block? Well, really, it is how will you summarize the inclusions, the bonuses, the value, and the price of your offer. So it's kind of, think of it like a little block that you have that has like a really short summary of the inclusions. So up above, when you list your inclusions, you might sort of have, Friday Fabulous Q&A, and then you might say it's valued at $2,000. And then you might have some text about what that is. Well, here in your offer block, you'll just include the one line item, the Friday Fabulous Q&A, valued at $2,000. And then under that, you'd have the next thing and valued at. And so you end up with this list of items, and then you summarize the value of that. And so let's say you're selling a course for $2,000. You might just, through the list of things that are included, show that that includes $5,000 worth of value. And plus, you might be showing them that it also includes $5,000 worth of bonuses. And so in your offer block, you'll summarize your inclusions and the value. You'll summarize the bonuses and the value. And then you'll say something like, so that's $10,000 in value for just $2,000. And that little block of text with the calculations and the list, that becomes something that you can use in multiple places in your sales page. Once you've revealed the price, you might show that offer block a couple of more times. It can be something you use on your webinar if you're using a webinar. It can be something that you use in an email sequence where you're inviting people to come back to the sales page and buy. Maybe they've already been presented the offer, but they didn't buy at the time. So you can recap the offer and explain to them and remind them what such a great deal it was. So this is a little block that you make once, but you can use it multiple times on your sales page, and then it has uses elsewhere.
Love it. So one of the things that Michelle just mentioned was around the pricing and the value. And element number 13 is actually price justification. What can you say to clearly justify the price? And by justify, I mean, how do you make it sound like a no-brainer that you're charging what you're charging? So you're looking for ways to help people see that this is a no-brainer investment, that it's worth the money and likely going to help them get their money back and then some. So think about calculations or comparisons and even consequences. And here's what I mean. On calculations, in this sales training example, show them how to calculate the value of just one new client a month over a 12-month period. What would that be worth to them? Your program might be a $1,000 investment, and this calculation could help them see just how one client a month could be worth, say, $6,000 to them or $60,000 to them, or whatever that calculation works out at. People won't necessarily do the numbers on their own, so you need to join the dots for them and actually put that on your page. Comparisons was the other thing. What can you compare your offer with in a way that makes your offer more favourable and makes sense to your client? For example, maybe a university degree would take 4 years and cost $80,000. That makes your $1,000 course that takes 30 days seem like a great way to get the results faster and easier. Or perhaps other consultancies charge what you're charging just for the research, but your proposal also includes the strategy recommendation. So compare it to something else out there. One of the comparisons that we make quite often is that being part of her business network, the annual investment for that right now is $970. Compare that to doing a course once and then you're left on your own to having mentoring and support and accountability for 12 months. Totally different. It's like, well, that's really cheap. And consequences. So what might the cost be for your client not taking action? Is it missed sales or lost growth or lost relationships or health or losing valuable team members or time passing by? Think about the things that are real consequences if they choose not to do anything right now and if they choose not to take up your offer, and calculate the cost of the consequences or of not solving the problem that you can help them solve. So that was calculations, comparisons, and consequences, all to help you really clearly justify the price that you're charging.
So good. And, if you can make that price justification, that's one of the big levers you can pull. Like when you can demonstrate that for people and think, oh my gosh, I could make $60,000 in new sales this year. This $1,000 course is a no-brainer. It can really fast track people getting to the yes. So, again, something we see a lot of sales pages missing completely, and you want to have this on your checklist as you're thinking about your sales page. Guys, we're on the home run. We're on to number 14 of the 16 essential elements of a high converting sales page. And this section is called This is for You If. And the whole idea of this is, how will you let people know people like them are right for what it is you're offering? So here you want to overtly describe who your client is, who the right people are for this offer, and you want to use their language so it's clear to them that they can see, oh, yeah, this is for me. Or, and you want this too, this is not for me. They might look at it and go, oh, no, this isn't what I thought it was, I'm out. That's fine too. It is okay to polarize. You want to be for some people and not for others. But the people you're for, you want to say, hey, I'm for you. Like wave a big red flag here and say, if this is you, I'm your person, or we're your company, or this is your product. So in the sales training example we've kind of been running all the way through here, you might have a section on your sales page that says, this program is for you if. And then you could have a couple of sections there. One is, you feel like there's got to be a better way. You're working hard but not seeing the results you want. And you know there's something you're missing when it comes to actually converting prospects into buyers. Now, somebody reading that might think, yeah, I feel like that. I feel like what I'm doing is just, I'm missing the mark. There's some missing link. Or you might have something that says, the thought of selling makes your skin crawl. You have an amazing product, but nobody knows about it. The idea of actually having a sales conversation, or heaven forbid, asking for the sale, makes you feel super uncomfortable. So now you're addressing those people for whom you know They don't like selling. It's like, ooh, don't make me sell. And then finally, you might have something that says this is for you if you love growing, but you need more customers. Maybe you really love telling people about what you do and you're already growing and selling, but you just don't have the volume of leads and sales you really want or need. And then this might be a perfect place to have your call to action. Join Australia's leading sales coaching program for women business owners today. And then you've got your button, join now. So anybody that fits any of those profiles knows, yeah, this is for me. They're going to help me. I'm not in the wrong place here. I'm not going to make a fool of myself because I feel like, yeah, selling makes my skin crawl. You're giving them permission to feel that way and still know they're in the right place with you. Another thing you can do is include a list of industries you've supported so they know what you do applies to them. So you might have another section on your sales page that says, can this work for you? Here are just some types of women-led businesses that we've taught this sales method to. And then you might have a big, long list: fashion, travel, construction, sales training, speaking, craft, health, fitness, music, yoga, Pilates, et cetera, et cetera. And so they can see from that list, oh my goodness, this works for all kinds of businesses.
Right. I love that. And we have a list very much like that on our Her Business Network sales page because the breadth of the types of businesses that we've supported tens of thousands of women to grow their business is so broad. And so whether you are a yoga teacher or you're a consultant or a florist, etc., you can go, oh, okay, this can work for people like me. That's number 14. This is for you if. It's also important, I might add, to this is not for you if. That's the section we also include right next to this is for you if. And, you know, for us it might be things like people are looking for a silver bullet or people who are, you know, there might be some people who you're definitely sure you're not right for. Then you definitely want to call that out as well. Number 15 of our 16 essential elements is risk reversal. Now, this is a term you may have heard here on the show if you've listened to earlier episodes. And the question you're asking here is, what am I doing to help people feel less risk about saying yes to my offer? Now, this can include a money-back guarantee if that's relevant for your business, or it could be a satisfaction guarantee, or it could be a trial period. The main point here is that you want people to feel like you're taking the risk out of the equation for them, right? You're making it a no-brainer. There's nothing at risk. You are just making it easy for them. There's no traps. There's nowhere they can get caught. This is often one of the last things people need to step over from no to yes, knowing that I'm going to do this, but what if I've made a mistake? What if I get buyer's remorse? What would happen then? And for example, we offer money-back guarantees on our courses. We even have a mastermind, as you know, our Marketing Success Mastermind, where we do also offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. If you come and you join and you think, no, this isn't the right program for me. We've never had this happen, by the way, but it's there, right? And I'm sure for some people it's just peace of mind to go, okay, I know that if it's not for me, that I can turn around and say this isn't the right community for me. So what is it for you? And if you think you can't do a money-back guarantee, or you think, oh, I'll give them their money back if they do this 16-point checklist and show me, proven to me that they've done the things I said and it didn't work, you're making it too hard. Most people are decent people, in my experience of over 27 years. But they just want assurance that they're not taking a risk. So we cover this risk reversal a lot more in the episode we mentioned earlier, that gold little episode number 23, How to Craft an Offer That Sells. We mentioned it earlier and we go into further detail. We've also got another episode number 22, on how to use guarantees and risk reversal in your content to get more sales. Now, we've mentioned a lot of things here. I just want to remind you, we're going to give you links to all of these fantastic episodes so that you can dig deeper as you're creating your 16 elements of a high converting sales page. We have one more, Michelle.
We do. And I'm just thinking as we're kind of going through this is like the hub episode. Yeah. You know, it's like take the checklist, take the show notes with all the other episodes and put it together, and you've got a pretty comprehensive training on how to make a really high converting kick-ass sales page. So let's go to the last one, which is number 16. Dun, dun, dun. We've got to the end. It is the FAQ, the frequently asked questions. What frequently asked questions do you need to include? That's really what we want to have here on our sales page. And you'll notice a really good sales page at the bottom does have a list of frequently asked questions. Now, this is in many cases a repeat of other parts of your sales page.
Right.
Remember, you're still handling objections here, and repetition is your friend, like we said earlier. So it can include all basically the elements we've talked about on this page. What is it? How much is it? Is there a guarantee? Are there any bonuses? When does it expire? What if I'm just a beginner? What if I buy it and I don't like it? What are the other people like in the program? When will I get this, or how will this work, or anything that might be a lingering question in someone's mind, you want to include in the FAQ. Plus, you want to repeat some of the really core aspects of the rest of the page and all of the other data that you've included. The great thing is once you have this FAQ, you can also use that in a follow-up email where you just give people, hey, we've had a whole bunch of questions about the XYZ program. Here are some of the most commonly asked questions. And so you can reuse this content in other places like you can for a lot of the other sales page content. But you do want to have that right at the end, just for those high fact finders, those really methodical people who just need to know all the things before they feel really ready to move forward.
I love that. I love that. We got there, Michelle. There's the 16 elements. Now, we've got a couple more things for you, but first of all, I just want to recap these 16 elements. We started off with the hook. Number 2 is objections. Number 3 is your benefits versus features. Number 4 is the headline. Number 5, call to action. Number 6, video, an optional step. Number 7 is scarcity. Number 8 is proof. Social and authority proof. Number 9 is likability. Number 10 is your inclusions. 11, bonuses. 12, your offer block. 13, price justification. 14, this is for you if. Number 15 is risk reversal, and number 16 is your frequently asked questions. I hope you can see that creating a high converting sales page takes some thought, but we've really broken it down for you today into these 16 elements, and we've put together a special checklist. It's an absolutely free download. We're making this available with this episode, so you can literally download it, check off each one as you go along, ask questions as you go along. I'm going to tell you how to contact me, Michelle, in just a moment. And that is your 16 points. I'm going to tell you how to get in touch with me and Michelle. I'm going to tell you how to get this checklist. But in the meantime, I would love it if I could ask you this. Would you leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts? We love to share these tips with as many business owners as possible. We would love it if you would leave us a rating or a review, especially on Apple Podcasts, because they're kind of the big kahuna of podcasts. We have over 100 5-star reviews and ratings. If you enjoyed today's episode, we'd love it if you would leave us a rating or a review. I want to shout out one of our listeners. This is Peter Thompson. She's a relatively new member to the Her Business Network, and she said this. She said, the depth of fabulous Her Business content is insane. I've taken a break from my true crimes podcasts, obviously her favorites, to listen to Content Sells. She said, I decided to start at 2020, like the year 2020, and I'll continue to work my way forward, but we'll definitely go back to episode 1. This is classic evergreen superfood right here, folks. Thank you so much, Peter. We're going to put a link to Peter's business inside of our show notes. Now, we've mentioned several resources, many episodes on today's show, and we've made it easy for you to access all those goodies. Anything that you've mentioned here and where you can go and download your 16 essential elements of a high converting sales page checklist is herbusiness.com/sales pages. That's all one word, herbusiness.com/sales pages. Michelle, what do we have coming up in episode 207?
207. Holy moly. We are talking about how to convert survey responses into high converting copy. It's going to be really useful as a bit of a sister episode to this episode, which is about the elements of a high converting sales page. Now, we talk a lot on the show about using customer language. And one of the best ways to get that language is to send a survey to your audience with some open-ended questions so they can actually answer in their own language. And many of our listeners have done this. We know that this is a strategy that many people are using. And if you aren't using it, this episode might suggest to you this is something to build into your strategic plan. But if you've done a survey, you've got your survey responses, how do you mine all that gold? Because we're still finding that it's often underutilized. Maybe you read through it and then you think, okay, well, I've got the general gist of it. And then you go and start writing your copy just kind of out of the thoughts that you have in relation to what you read. But actually you want to use their language. And we're going to show you a process for converting those survey responses into copy. It is absolutely magical. It will help you write some of the best copy that you've ever written, copy that your customers are going to resonate with, because it's really just speaking their words back to them. Really a must listen episode.
It is going to blow your mind. It is so good. And if you think, well, I don't do surveys, is it going to be relevant? Yes, because anywhere you have client comments in your Facebook groups, questions that come into your help desk, email responses that you get, things people have said to you in testimonials, you are going to be able to turn that into incredible language that is going to help more people buy from you. So that is coming up 2 weeks from now. I said I'd tell you where you can find me and Michelle. You can find us over at the Content Sales page on Facebook. So if you just go to Facebook and you look for Content Sales page, go ahead and follow that page. We post every new episode there, and it's also a place where you can ask questions. We're always looking out for questions. But more than anything, I want to make sure you subscribe to the show, because we've got great new episodes coming out every 2 weeks. We've also got a back catalogue now of 207 episodes, 206 at this point. All juicy little marketing trainings. So hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you are listening. Michelle, anything you want to say before we go?
Definitely get the download for today and be diligent. Work your way through all 16 elements. You need them all. They're essential elements. And we wish you every success with your sales page. Here's to high converting sales pages.
Thank you so much for listening. We love putting the show together for you. We'll see you next time right here on the Content Sales Podcast. Bye for now.